This story started May 6th, 2026. We are in the thick of it. My wife works at a unionized manufacturing plant and walked out yesterday. The new HR director has been looking for exclusives to trim the roster, but he couldn't fire her legally for attendance because she still has 2 tardies left in her bank. So instead, they bypassed the point system and hit her with a conduct violation for an improper call-off. I have been up all night digging through her paperwork and the union contract, and I'm pretty sure I caught HR and her supervisor completely screwing themselves. I just wanted to get a second opinion on the logic here before we go to the union. Here's the breakdown of how management handled this. Last week, she called the security desk at 6 a.m. to call off. The guard clicked tardy on the drop-down menu, but right next to it, in the return date box, the guard actually typed NSD, which stands for next scheduled day. You cannot be tardy for a shift you literally said you are not returning for until tomorrow. HR just ignored the NSD part so they could fire her for being a no-show after allegedly saying that she would be tardy. Her supervisor went into the system 2 days later hunting for her time punches to prove that she did not show up. He waited 2 days to build a paper trail for a conduct charge instead of just reading the security log that already said she was not coming in. It looks like they were looking for a reason to fire her, rather than just following the attendance policy. They rushed the paperwork so fast to get her out the door that the official termination form had the wrong shift and the wrong supervisor listed on it. They did not even look at her file before they signed the papers. And to make it a fireable offense, they had to prove that she was a repeat offender. They cited a write-up from January. Her crime in January was calling off and saying paid time off instead of personal. Music. The best part is the union filed a grievance on that January write-up, and it was never actually settled. During the firing meeting yesterday, the supervisor and the steward were literally arguing because neither of them knew if that January issue was still open. HR fired her based on a past warning they cannot even prove is legally active. I think tardy is a state of being, not a reason for an absence. If the security log says her return was next scheduled day, that means the company knew she was not coming in. Does she have a case to get her job back with back pay? It feels like they bypassed the entire union attendance system just to fire her over a contractor typo and an unsettled grievance from 4 months ago. Now, he attached a picture and says, and we're going to look at it. Here's the actual security log from the morning of May 3rd. My wife called at 6:27 a.m., which is nearly a half hour before her 7 a.m. shift began. Look at the return line. The security officer manually typed NSD, next scheduled day. This is the smoking gun because it proves the company had actual notice that she would not be coming in for the full shift. I want to see the picture. Okay, yeah, we got the name called, the time called off, reason. Okay. And the officer stuff too. I don't know, it's right there. They got the evidence in writing. Management is now trying to bypass the union attendance point system by claiming that it was an improper call-off or a no-show conduct violation. They are basing the entire charge on the fact that the guard selected tardy from a drop-down menu for the reason. But look at that logic here. You cannot be tardy for a shift you have already confirmed you aren't returning for until tomorrow. Edit. I want to clarify a few things that have come up in the comments. A union representative was physically present during the termination meeting and has reportedly filed a grievance over this following. However, the meeting itself revealed a massive procedure failure. Management and the rep spent a significant amount of time arguing over a previous grievance from January, which involved a dispute over whether my wife said paid time off or personal during one of her call-offs. When she asked for a definitive answer on whether that January case was actually settled or closed, neither side could provide one. It appears the company is using an unresolved ghost grievance as the foundation for this termination. Because of the confusion and sloppy paperwork, we are calling the union hall tomorrow. I appreciate the concern from everyone telling me to delete this, but the post stays up. A lot of folks are giving me advice based on standard at-will employment. But my wife is a dues-paying union member protected by a just cause contract. We aren't hiding from management because management is the one who screwed up the paperwork. If the company tries to retaliate against a union worker because her husband posted their own contradictory security logs on the internet, they're opening themselves up to an unfair labor practice charge and a massive retaliation suit. Deleting this now only serves to protect the HR director who botched the termination, and I am not giving him that cover. The documents speak for themselves, and the union is handling the rest. The part that makes this really fishy to me as I am sitting here is the day in question when she called off. Her brother had already been out for 2 days by my memory, and that day when he went to urgent care was the 3rd day that he had been absent. For my wife, it was the 1st day, and the night before, she had been up all night vomiting and expelling the back end. Thanks for that, and she spent all of that day in bed. I see thanks for that as if I wouldn't talk about it if I had diarrhea. Like, give me a break. I am not above it. He went to the doctors, was there for hours, got a CT scan, and got a medical excuse for his absence because his stomach bug was exasperated by pancreatitis. Oh, that sounds serious. Are you saying this because her brother works there? That has to come out, and that's why this is part of the story. The Facebook message from her father was the day that he went to the doctors, as her dad was keeping us updated if it was something dangerous or contagious, because we probably would have gone to the doctors too. Her brother was sick. But her father was medically fragile, and he is recovering from bladder cancer and had a hip replacement. Her dad had asked me not to come inside the main house unless it was absolutely necessary. Her brother and father live in the house while our family occupies a camper on the property. For context, my wife was a PLI, which is a performance-linked incentive, and her brother was a ware handler. My wife was a ware handler too until a few months ago when she signed off on the bid, but she would upgrade to ware handler to fill the role as needed to help out. Since she has been on day shift, specifically the same shift as her mother and brother, she had not been calling off a lot at all. I think May was only the 2nd time since January. Okay, so she works where her mother and brother work as well. Interesting. The 2 days that he was out before her were upgrade days where she filled his role. Then the boss only had a shortage because that 3rd day she was not there. When she came back, she handled the day she went back and threw a whole stink about it the whole day too. She had gone back to work but still was not feeling 100%, even though the nausea had subsided. And the day after that, they went hunting for punches. The day the boss sent out the email asking if she had any punches was 2 days after the doctor's, and the company did not know I was entirely privy to the doctor's visit. They seem to forget that we all live on the same property, mom, brother, and my wife. This makes it feel like they did not care about attendance or disruption to the floor. It seems like they cared about winning a power struggle. They waited 2 days to see that the brother was protected by a CT scan and medical documentation. Then it looks like they targeted my wife because they thought that she was timid. They ignored her 6:27 a.m. notification and the manual NSD security entry just to manufacture a technicality for a hit. The fact that they got her shift and supervisor wrong on the final papers makes it seem like they were not investigating. They were just rushing to execute a vendetta. Edit, she got her 401k paperwork in the mail today, and they couldn't even be bothered to get the date right at the top of the page. Last I checked, it wasn't 2027 yet. A lot of unorganization going on here. This is it's a mess. This is a real mess. The case from January, no one even has paperwork on the case, so nothing was ever resolved. What's going on, guys? What is going on? You know where we're going. Not hydration station. We're going to the Reddit comments first. Someone said, "You need to have your wife call the union representative regarding this situation and file a grievance." OP wrote back and said, "I was having her call the union hall tomorrow. The last grievance filed went unsettled. So I think management is digging this rep around. I just wanted to be able to give her a little hope, so I figured I would ask the internet. And I think her chances are good. All the main AI models think her chances are good, but we are terrified. I don't know enough about it. I really don't. I only worked one job at a factory I was protected by a union. And even then, I still had no idea what that meant at the time." Next comment. Number 1, the union is your friend. You should contact them immediately. Number 2, deep breaths. You can't think straight if you're panicking, and you can't help it if you can't straight. And number 3, your wife might not need you to go into fix mode right now. She might just want your emotional support. Don't piss her off by doing things she doesn't want. That's hilarious. And number 3, don't piss off your wife. He responded and said, "It's too late for that, but thank you. She just gave my ADHD having ass emission. I'm letting her rest for a little bit. I just wanted to be able to tell her, kind internet strangers said that she might have a solid case." Next comment. Where is your wife's job located, and was a union representative present when the termination took place? OP said, New York, USA, and she's a member of a pretty strong Corning union. I have to figure out what her chances are because she's a wreck. Okay, so is that a yes that a member was there? Like another member? Next comment. Why the F is the security guard in charge of attendance? Fair point. Why is the security desk doing it and not someone who's like up in the offices, maybe like a secretary? I don't know. Does that matter though? Does it? I don't know. Anyways, he said, you call the guard, give the name, reason, and return date. And the guard marks it down, and then yeah, as we know what happened, music there. He marked it as tardy. Next comment. Do you know why HR or the company wants to fire your wife? Are they trying to downsize? Are they grasping at straws? This sounds like something the union should be able to fix. I wouldn't bother focusing on the legal language or random specifics. That will just drive you crazy. Just try to figure out why they're trying to launder the situation into a legitimate firing. Yeah, like what is it about your wife? What's going on? Why do you hate me? And last comment, expect the union to go to bat for her. If they don't, they are shooting themselves in the foot. She just needs to remind them this is a test case and their jobs are on the line right now too. OP said, yeah, her mom, brother, and sister all work at the same plant. She is just the least angry of the group, not even the worst attendance. That's what I'm saying. If there's more people who have called out and stuff, what is it with her? Why do you hate her? My God, why? We have our first update on the situation. It came 3 weeks later. We are now at May 29th. It has been a few weeks and things have completely turned around. The physical paper trail local management left behind was so incredibly sloppy that the higher-ups completely panicked. Our local union president completely bypassed the standard timeline and jumped straight into the arena before a formal Step 1 meeting even kicked off. He actually tracked down my wife's cell number by messaging her mom on Facebook to get a hold of her directly. After her call with him, she told me that he said she was fundamentally wronged, that the union is going for full reinstatement and back pay, and that they will help call the unemployment office if she gets a denial. Juicy. Oh, this is some, it's not the usual drama we have on this channel, but this is juicy. He told her to just sit tight while they close this loophole. When you lay the paperwork they generated side by side, it is incredibly obvious why corporations are currently scrambling to completely redo and rewrite their entire attendance call-off policy. The 5-page packet they handed her at the plant, which she firmly refused to sign, explicitly checked the box for a conduct violation due to an improper call-off. They engineered this conduct charge on the floor because they knew her actual rolling attendance card was clean and they couldn't fire her under standard attendance rules. To make it worse, they rushed the write-up so fast, they managed to list the wrong shift and the wrong supervisor on her final floor papers. Like, what are y'all doing? So messy. You are the only one to blame. But then, the corporate switch happened. A few days later, her formal benefits and 401k off-boarding letter arrived in the mail, which was officially carbon copied straight to the local union president. On this official corporate letterhead, they completely flipped the script and claimed she was terminated for, quote, a violation of the hourly attendance policy for absenteeism. What? By officially documenting the internal reason as absenteeism to upper corporate and the union hall, they inadvertently admitted on paper that they executed a termination under an attendance framework where they completely ignored the mandatory progressive discipline steps required by our collective bargaining agreement. And just to cap off the absolute administrative circus of this new management team, The formal corporate letterhead they mailed out was officially dated at the top for May 6th, 2027, literally post-dating her termination a full year into the future. This is embarrassing for them. She is still currently listed as an active employer on ADP, checks her 401k stuff. The facts spoke for themselves. The loophole is being closed permanently and collective strength works. But it doesn't end there. So I'm intrigued how this plays out officially. We're going back to the comments because someone asked him what this loophole is, and he explains it. He says, well, basically, the 5 pages that she was sent home with when they fired her at the plant checked the box for an improper call-off. They tried to frame it as a conduct violation because conduct charges don't require the company to follow a progressive discipline policy, which means that they thought they could bypass her safe attendance bank and just fire her on the spot. But the loophole completely falls apart on 2 major fronts when you look at the facts. First, to legally fire someone for a real on-site conduct violation, you walk them out the exact day the supposed violation happens, not days later after hunting for time punches. Second, the formal corporate paperwork she later received in the mail completely flipped the script and explicitly listed the reason for her termination and absenteeism under the hourly attendance policy. Absenteeism is strongly governed by a mandatory progressive discipline policy in her collective bargaining agreement. By officially documenting the internal reason as that absenteeism to upper corporate, we admit it. They already said this. They essentially skipped the mandatory warnings and steps required to legally fire her under her contract. Without repeating it too much, you guys. Next comment. Why do they want to fire your wife so bad? Isn't that the burning question? He said that was actually the main question the union president had. All of her attendance issues were spread out over a period of 3 years, and by any reasonable metric, she's a good employee. That's probably why he started the conversation by telling her straight up that she had been wronged. Yeah. Next comment. For full reinstatement and back pay, what's your wife grievance case step? Has she gone through the hearing yet? Any mediation? He said she hasn't even had a solid step 1 yet. The local union president actually spent 2 days trying to track down her number through her mom before she finally texted him to call at his convenience. He called that afternoon and told her straight up that she had been wronged, and he mentioned reinstatement and back pay. Other than that, there hasn't been any real time for any real mediation or anything like that. It had been almost 2 weeks since she walked out when he finally got a hold of her. And it's been about 3 weeks total as of 2 days ago. There hasn't really been time for the full wheels to turn, which is why I'm just hesitantly excited. And I wanted to share the good news that I have at the time. We have a final update though, so hopefully the wheels are turning, and they are turning fast. And going in your direction. I need a sip of water if you guys want me to keep reading. So you better drink it with me. Cheers. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Oh, this girl and her coffee cup. Share your coffee with me. Share your coffee with me. Oh, girl, you're going to get a whiplash. Oh, I wasn't fast enough. All right, final update. 8 days later, we are at June 6th, 2026. The strategic landscape completely shifted this morning. Both the plant manager and the union president have now explicitly admitted that she was fundamentally wronged and that the initial attendance policy interpretation was completely botched. Despite openly confessing to the error, the company is still floating a standard lowball compromise offering her preferred shift layout back, but completely refusing to pay a single cent of back pay for the time missed due to their own administrative negligence. Y'all gotta fight that. While she is choosing to accept this offer simply to secure immediate household income and shift stability, make no mistake, this is a tactical decision for our household, not an absolution for their corporate negligence. This penny-pinching tactic makes perfect sense when you look at the severe financial strain trailing the parent organization. To add absolute insult to injury, the company has actively kept her state unemployment benefits in total administrative limbo because they literally cannot tell a consistent story to the Department of Labor. When you track the literal paperwork that they generated from the morning of the absence to the final termination notice, they have produced 2 entirely different, conflicting reasons for discharge on the official letterhead. And these are what they say. The first one says, The progressive discipline form rewrote history 3 days later to process the infraction as the improper call-off conduct violation to bypass 2-point blank. The next one, the formal corporate notice, flipped the script a third time, officially documenting the separation as general absenteeism under the hourly attendance policy, completely ignoring the mandatory progressive steps required by the conduct. They logged it as tardy, processed it as an improper call-off, and finalized it as absenteeism. They are stalling their responses to the state because entering these contradictory, fraudulent internal documents into a state regulatory system crosses directly into misrepresentation territory, crosses into a bunch of words that don't really mean much in my brain because this is a lot of legal stuff. We're going back to the comments because he's in the comment section and people have some more questions. Someone said, "Is reinstatement an option while the local pursues the grievance for back pay?" It seems like the dispute lies in making her whole financially rather than returning her to work since they have acknowledged their error. He said, "I doubt it. This company doesn't like to pay their obligations. Ergo, the reason for them being sued in the past for $9.6 million in the New York Supreme Court for unpaid bills. Oh, they've got a history. Awesome." Next comment. Ask the union to approach the company with dropping the fight against unemployment in return for reinstatement without back pay. It would have to clearly indicate that the company must drop their opposition and correct the record with UE so she can get UE for the day that she was let go until her first day back at work. It's not the best option, but it would allow some financial relief for you without having to wait months for the grievance process to play out. I would guess the company probably won't let her back until she agrees to no back pay or they are forced into arbitration. I can't imagine the stress that comes from this. OP responded and said, "The company actually can't afford to let state regulators look too closely at their paperwork right now because they can't establish a consistent reason for the firing." So he explains again how there was 2 different reasons that they put essentially. Here is why this distinction matters under a union contract. An ICO, which is an improper call-off, conduct charge doesn't require certain progressive discipline steps, but the other one absolutely does. By documented corporate admission, they processed it under an attendance framework where they completely skipped the mandatory warnings and steps required by her CBA. They are keeping her state unemployment in limbo because entering these wildly contradictory documents into a state system, as we know, enters the, misrepresentation territory. They can't get their story straight with evidence on paper, and the union process is forcing them to look at that log error. So, yeah, this is going to go on forever if she doesn't agree to that.
That's why they want her to say, "Okay, we'll give you shift, come back, no back pay, let's just drop it and pretend it never happened." That's what I'm getting from it, though. I also fully don't understand all these terms, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. Let me know your thoughts and if you've had any similar experiences, especially with union at your work. I'm curious. I don't really have much to speak on in terms of being in or represented by a union. Nothing happened. That's a lie. Actually, some crazy stuff happened when I worked at that job with the union. Like very serious stuff that I will not put on the internet. And it was handled by the union. I don't know why I'm pretending. We're not going to talk about that. Anyways, let me know all your thoughts. See you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.